The untamed era of the Wild West is steeped in captivating tales of gunfights, notorious outlaws, and enigmatic deaths. Among these legendary figures, Johnny Ringo stands out as a mystical character. Despite his reputation as a dangerous criminal, numerous unanswered questions surround the circumstances of his demise. Was it suicide or murder? Who was responsible for pulling the trigger? In this video, we delve into the perplexing and unsolved mystery surrounding the death of Johnny Ringo, aiming to unravel one of the Wild West's most intriguing enigmas. Johnny Ringo, born in 1850 in Indiana, was the youngest of 5 children to Martin and Mary Peters Ringo. During the gold rush, his family relocated to California with hopes of finding prosperity like many others at the time. Unfortunately, life proved challenging for the Ringo family as Johnny's father passed away when he was still a young boy. This profound loss had a lasting impact on Ringo's life, and some speculate that it played a role in the subsequent involvement in criminal pursuits. In his youth, Ringo struggled to find stability and financial security. He explored various occupations, including farming, mining, and even acting, but none of them seemed to suit him. However, everything changed when he discovered his natural talent with a gun. As a sharpshooter, he swiftly gained a reputation which would later prove advantageous in his criminal endeavors. In 1869, Johnny Ringo departed from his mother, brother, and sisters in San Jose, California, and relocated to Mason County, Texas. It was there that he formed a friendship with Scott Cooley, a former Texas Ranger and the adopted son of rancher Tim Williamson. Embracing a life of crime, Ringo became deeply entangled in the turbulent events of the Mason County War, which erupted in May 1875. The catalyst for this conflict was the lynching of the 2 American thieves Elijah and Pete Backus by a German mob. The tension further intensified when a farmer killed Tim Williamson, leading to a retaliatory campaign of terror orchestrated by Scott Cooley and Johnny Ringo against their adversaries. The violence that ensued resulted in numerous fatalities, including the infamous murder of James Chaney by Ringo and one of his associates. Eventually, Cooley and Ringo found themselves behind bars for the killing of Charlie Batter. However, with the assistance of their allies, they managed to orchestrate a daring escape from jail. The Mason County War eventually came to an end in November 1876, following approximately 12 deaths. Scott Cooley was presumed dead, while Ringo found himself imprisoned. Later on, Ringo transitioned into the law enforcement role in the Loyal Valley of Texas before eventually relocating to Arizona. On January 21, 1877, a significant event occurred when the Mason County Courthouse in Texas burned down, resulting in the destruction of official records pertaining to the Mason County War. Ringo, accompanied by his friend Joseph Graves Olney, using the alias Joe Hill during the war, arrived in Cochise County, Arizona Territory in 1879. In December of that same year, Ringo was involved in a shooting incident at a Safford pub. He shot Lewis Hancock after Hancock declined a complimentary glass of whiskey and requested beer instead. Despite being wounded, Hancock survived the encounter. After moving to Tombstone, Arizona, Ringo crossed paths with Sam Purdy, the editor of the Tombstone Epitaph. Purdy later recounted a conversation with Ringo in which the latter expressed a belief that his life was in imminent danger. Ringo believed that his fate was sealed, stating that he could run for a few more years or perhaps just 2 more days, implying his awareness of the constant threat to his life. Ringo's reputation in Tombstone was that of a volatile individual, possibly involved in the criminal activities of the Cochise County Cowboys, a loosely connected group of outlaws. Local newspapers occasionally refer to him as Ringold. In the Cochise County Great Register of 1882, Ringo described himself as a speculator. A notable encounter occurred on January 17, 1882, when 2 prominent figures of the Wild West, Johnny Ringo and Doc Holliday, engaged in a heated confrontation that nearly escalated into gunfire. As a result of their confrontation, both Johnny Ringo and Doc Holliday were arrested by Tombstone's chief of police, James Flynn, for carrying weapons within town limits. They were taken into custody and presented before Judge William H. Stillwell, who imposed fines for their offense. However, this incident did not mark the end of Ringo's legal troubles. Judge Stillwell subsequently prosecuted Ringo for his alleged involvement in a robbery that occurred in Galville. After being recaptured, Ringo was incarcerated on May 20, 1882. Historical records indicate that the Earp brothers suspected Ringo of participating in the ambush of Virgil Earp on December 28, 1881. This attack left Virgil permanently disabled and is believed to have been motivated by the Earps' effort to establish law and order in Tombstone. Furthermore, Ringo was also believed to have played a role in the murder of Morgan Earp on March 18, 1882. Morgan was fatally shot while playing billiards in a Tombstone pub. On March 20th, 1882, Wyatt Earp, a U.S. deputy marshal, and his team killed Frank Stillwell in Tucson in response to Stillwell's involvement in the ambush of Virgil Earp and the murder of Morgan Earp. Following the shooting, Earp and his federal team pursued others responsible for the attacks. Cochise County Sheriff Johnny Behan received a warrant from a judge in Tucson for the arrest of Wyatt Earp, his team, and Doc Holliday. Ringo, who represented a group of 19 men, many of whom were friends of Stillwell within the Cochise County Cowboys, was among those pursued by law enforcement. During the Vendetta ride, Wyatt Earp found himself in a gunfight with Curly Bill Brocious, who happened to be one of Johnny Ringo's closest friends. This encounter took place at the Iron Springs, which is now known as the Mezcal Springs, approximately 20 miles away from Tombstone. Earp asserted that a man named Florentino Cruz had confessed to being involved in tracking down Morgan's killer and identified Ringo. Stillwell, Swilling, and Brocious as the culprits. However, contemporary research has raised doubts about the accuracy of Earp's account. Despite closing in on the federal team at Henry C. Hooker's ranch, the authorities were unable to apprehend Earp or his associates. In response to a previous statement, former Pima County Sheriff Bob Paul penned a letter to the citizens of Tucson on March 3, 1898, offering his perspective on the matter. The tale told by Wyatt Earp contains several inaccuracies. Earp asserted that Henry C. Hooker had disclosed the location of Earp's team to Behan and his men. However, the truth is that Hooker had actually informed Behan of their whereabouts after Earp's team had already departed in the opposite direction. This period of Wild West history was marked by violence and lawlessness. With the Earp brothers and their team frequently at odds with outlaws like Johnny Ringo and his associates, the events leading up to the Vendetta ride were a culmination of conflicts that unfolded in towns such as Tombstone and Tucson. During the early 1880s, Johnny Ringo was a wanted man, implicated in various robberies and illicit activities. Law enforcement was actively pursuing him, and Ringo spent much of his time on the run, seeking refuge in remote areas and surviving off the land. However, Ringo's luck eventually ran out. On July 14, 1882, his lifeless body was discovered in Turkey Creek Canyon near Tombstone, Arizona. He had suffered a gunshot wound to the head, and his death was officially ruled as suicide. Nevertheless, the circumstances surrounding Ringo's demise have remained a subject of controversy and speculation for over a century. Some historians have raised doubts about the suicide ruling and questioned whether Ringo was actually murdered. It's worth noting that Wyatt Earp's alleged statement about killing John Ringo in Arizona in July is contentious. The book I Married Wyatt Earp, which contains this claim, has been discredited as a hoax, and the true source of the statement remains unknown. Nevertheless, there are arguments suggesting that Wyatt Earp had a motive to kill Ringo, despite Earp denying such claims in 1896. The truth surrounding Ringo's death remains uncertain, leaving room for speculation and debate. One alternative theory, known as the Doc Holliday theory, posits that it was Doc Holliday rather than Earp who killed Ringo, as popularized in the movie Tombstone. However, court records indicate that Holliday was in Colorado during the time of Ringo's death, dealing with theft charges. Furthermore, a newspaper report placed him over 600 miles away from the murder scene. Additionally, Holliday had an outstanding arrest warrant in Arizona for another murder, making it unlikely for him to have been involved in Ringo's demise. Another theory, the Michael O'Rourke theory, suggests that an itinerant gambler named O'Rourke may have been responsible for Ringo's death in 1882. This theory proposes that O'Rourke had a grudge against Ringo due to a debt owed to Earp and sought revenge. It's important to note that these theories are speculative, and concrete evidence supporting any particular theory is lacking. The mystery surrounding Johnny Ringo's death continues to captivate historians and enthusiasts, leaving the true circumstances of his demise unresolved. However, there is no evidence to support the O'Rourke theory, as O'Rourke's last known sighting was in May 1881, and he never faced court proceedings for murder. While some find the theory plausible, skeptics argue that O'Rourke would be unlikely to return to Arizona with an active murder warrant against him. Another theory proposes that Ringo was killed by outlaw gangs whom he had double-crossed or betrayed. This theory gains support from Ringo's involvement in various legal activities and his reputation for being untrustworthy. Johnny Ringo's final days were shrouded in controversy and speculation. The exact circumstances of his death may forever remain unknown. Nonetheless, his legacy as a notorious outlaw and a captivating figure of the Wild West endures and will continue to captivate generations to come. If you found the video content interesting, there are more on our channel. Please like and share, don't forget to subscribe, and leave a comment below. Have a good day.